We gon' make some moves tonight, yeah, stand up. Got something to prove tonight, so stand up. We ain't gonna plan tonight, we gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright. We ain't gonna stall, never stop. We gon' make it all till it's out. We ain't gonna plan tonight, we gonna take action on our dreams and fight, alright.
Ladies and gentlemen, and any way you choose to identify yourself, it all comes down to this. My name is Scott Churchson from Stream Punk Entertainment. Alongside me is Mr. Halen Haru from Five Birds Footy.
Welcome to
the Concacaf Gold Cup final between the U.S. men's national team and Team Mexico. We got a little bit of a preview right now. We're going to talk a little about this before the game gets underway. We're going to be doing the live stream like I talked about. I will, like I did last time we did this, updates down at the bottom, throw some fun facts, throw some numbers, some stats along the way, ask questions, whatever you guys have. But in the meantime, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm chilling. How are you? I'm excited. It's the final. It's the classic CONCACAF final, isn't it? It's US Mexico. It's our boy Matty on the biggest stage on this side of the world. Man, I'm just super excited all around for a lot of reasons.
There's a lot of interesting lines here. Obviously, Matt Freese, you talked about that, and his growth from 2023, getting his real first start with NYCFC, now being the guy that usurped Matt Turner and is the guy. Turner has gotten 0 this entire tournament, which says a lot there. But that story there, have the wall that is the Mexico defense. This is a team that gave up 2 in their first match and have clean sheet the remaining 4. So the question is, can the likes of Malik Tillman, Arfston, and Diego Luna, who came off the 2 goals last week, are they going to be able to get something at goal and at least get something in the net?
Yeah, that's the real question, isn't it? Like you said, Mexico's defense has been super stingy all tournament. You mentioned that they allowed how many goals so far?
2 in the first match, and they had 4 straight clean sheets after that.
4 straight clean sheets is insane. Yeah. That's crazy work.
Yes. That is a wall.
That is a wall. That is a flat out wall. I mean,
it is a brick wall.
Considering that it's a U.S.-Mexico game, I do feel like we could choose different terminologies. But I hear you.
That's a fair point. Oh yeah, I barely look at politics. I apologize for that.
No, I'm just being. I'm being silly. I'm being silly.
No.
But you're right. 4 straight games with clean sheets in a tournament, mind you. Right? That's not unusual. Say in a regular season, but to find that run of form defensively in a tournament when they needed to is nothing small,
Yeah.
So the front 4 of the U.S. team they have their work cut out for them. Like Adjumang has had some struggles, in front of goal so far this tournament. This might be a game where he kind of, puts his stamp on that number 9 spot by kind of carrying the goal scoring and showing that even against such a sturdy defense that he can make it happen, right? But obviously there's some other important guys there too, if you want to talk about them,
Well, I mean, obviously Diego had the 2 goals himself. Matt Freese, we talked about. It was a good team effort the last couple of games. When you look at the 2-1 final against Guatemala, which was close. That got close towards the end right there. Because the last time we did a live stream, obviously the big shootout that happened there, and otherwise it hasn't been that much. But again, when you Mexico, they won 3-2 against the Dominican. Then basically it was 0-0 beat Costa Rica on penalties, and then 2-0, and then 0 win against Honduras to get here. So this is a team that very quietly and flashingly done what to do to get to this point by, like I said, only giving up 2 goals, but at the same time only scoring 8 in the process.
Right, and that's the trade-off, right? Everybody has their approach. Every team has their approach in the game, and Mexico has put their chips on the side that they will prefer to prevent the opposite team from scoring and win by those type of margins rather than come out with a lot of firepower, and this, in a weird way, this is a duel of opposing ideologies, because the U.S. team, we have Diego Luna coming off the last couple of games that he's having. He's an offensive powerhouse right now. You have Malik Tillman, who seems to be dangerous on every touch, and yeah. So I don't know. It's gonna be a really scrappy game, like we mentioned before the stream started. This could, I could see it being a low scoring game. I could see it being a game with a lot of fouls, a lot of spot kicks. A lot of opportunities for set pieces as a result. But yeah, Raul Jimenez is starting up top from Mexico as well. That's I didn't realize. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's the same bit. Yeah, Jimenez up front, 2 goals for him in this one. Ironically, facing Matt Turner in about a week, as Charlotte ends up taking NYC. Yeah, up front, we got Javier, we got Nora. Like I said, to look at something like this, Luis Malagón, this is an interesting question when it comes to him, because he has right now when it stems from domestic violence and the allegations that happened there. So he has to go back to reality once this game is over. That's another thing to look at too. Will he give his more than forget S tier, God tier level, because he's got to go back to reality after this.
Mm-hmm.
But current over under on goals, by the way, is a measly 1.5.
Yeah, for sure. This game is going to be won by very small margins. I predicted like 1-0, 2-1, or maybe 1-1, and it ends in penalties. I would love, like I said to you already, I would love for it to end in penalties. That's one hell of a storyline.
Sure.
For Maddie, to be able to be in control of that destiny for the United States is at least, between the sticks in that way, to me, is the best culmination of what has been a really, really long journey to this point for him. Very long, but the opportunity that he has right now to really kind of etch his name in pen on that spot going into a World Cup year. The opportunity is very well deserved.
Yep, officially underway. It's kind of hazy down there in Houston right now.
Very hazy.
So carrots. So actually, that's probably what we mentioned on that one. There, I'll throw that there
and here we go.
Sorry, we can't live stream the matches. Fox's lawyers are ours. So you're asking how it. Unfortunately, I can't do that for you. I apologize there. So, but this is something that could be a low-scoring affair. Not probably soccer in the U.S. was hoping for a match that's literally being broadcast on Fox right now. So is USMNT, especially when there's high-scoring games. And I'll include baseball and football into that as well. A 1-0 final would be construed as kind of boring for a lot of them.
Yeah. American fans are spoiled, aren't we? Right? We're a very athletic nation. We have all of these, all these sports that, in the NFL, each score is worth 6 points, 7 points, right? We love a lot of result. But the beautiful part of this game of soccer is that it's a lot more than just the score line, right? It's everything, all the little battles that are happening in each pocket on the pitch. And, a low scoring game could still have a lot of action in it. And with some seasoned eyes, with the right lens, I'm sure that Americans can appreciate what is sure to be a pretty good game. So.
It could be, Meanwhile, the rest of the world is looking at this and judging it through the eyes of basically U.S. and Mexico versus, seeing what the Premier League bring to the table there too. And a lot of teams right now, a lot of countries are watching this as well, because this is a great precursor and a great scouting report for what these two teams will bring next year. Because a lot of these rosters are going to be pretty close to the same in a year from now for World Cup. So they're watching this with very close eyes to see what their opponents are going to be like in next year, 2026.
Like these are the two teams, from this region. Okay. So these are the two teams from this region that anyone really has to worry about outside of Canada.
Mhm.
Um, Having said that, it looks like Mexico is deciding to come out. They're really pressing really, really, really hard. They're trying to keep the tempo really high with the US, which is, I would say, is a good, foul on Ajimay, which is a good approach. Um, the US prefers they prefer to possess the ball. They prefer to slow the game down, control the tempo. So, if you the right response to that is to hurry that process, right?
Mhm.
If you're the opposition team, um, don't let them have time on the ball to pick the right pass and make them make passes more based more on instinct than analysis. And eventually errors will happen.
Sure.
So it's interesting to see Mexico come out and decide to press right away. Like I said, I kind of saw this happening. The intensity of the match being pretty high. There might be a lot of
Mhm.
fouls. It's already 3 minutes in.
Holy
It's
crap!
huh? What?
Whoa!
Oh, you're ahead of me.
Wait, no, I think it's an offsides. Is it an offsides? And there's
You're ahead of me.
Berhalter
Oh, it
had
might not
a
be offside.
setup, and then it was a header. I think Chris
Oh,
Richard, I think,
that's
scored.
on. That's on. That's on. That's on.
Holy shit! Wow.
Like I said, set pieces, brother.
Yeah.
Set pieces. There's going to be a lot of if Mexico is going to insist on pressing, they're going to have to concede the fact that they're going to give up a lot of spot kicks, a lot of free kicks, opportunities for crosses into the box, just like that one.
Wow.
And we saw
I
Chris
wasn't sure.
Richard
I wasn't sure.
actually.
It also did it all completely cross? Because that went off the top of the
It
bar.
did. It did. 100% did.
Yeah.
I think. Wait.
Yeah. Well, I
Hey, now
know. That's why I'm sure. Waiting for the reaction from everybody involved.
Is there goal line
Guess
technology?
that they might have to. Maybe I guess they're not going to go back to review this, but wow. Okay. Officials are looking at it. No, I guess that's all right. Okay. That is not what I expected for this first match to kick things off in this case here. Exactly what the U.S. team needed, 100%.
It's a damn good statement, a good foot to start this match off on.
Absolutely. First shot, first goal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and like I told you, if this game was going to be won by the U.S., it was going to be won on those set pieces, on those spot kicks, man. We have more size. Go on.
No, finish your thought, please.
No, listen, we have more size. So when it comes to aerials, we're likely gonna control that space. So
in a weird way, this goal is also beneficial because this match is taking place in Houston. There's a huge Mexican turnout. This isn't like playing in St. Louis. This isn't like playing in Minnesota. Mexican fans can drive to this game, and a lot of them probably did. So I would not have been surprised if the Mexican turnout was actually stronger than the U.S. one. So to take the Mexican team out of it, this is exactly what you needed. That thing's going.
Yeah, it is. And for it to start off, I mean, not even 10 minutes, and already such an emphatic goal scored. It's a really, really good momentum builder.
Now they have
Let's
to
see how Mexico responds.
Exactly. Mexico's going to play this right the way they need to. They have not been a strong offensive team this entire series. They've only scored 8 goals for 5 games. So the pressure is already going to be on them there. But this, like I said, is part of that whole aspect of it. Now, what the U.S. has been prone to doing, and this is a concern they're going to have, is that they've taken a small step back a couple times in the second half.
And for sure. The foot comes off the gas a little bit.
The foot comes off the gas. It's a fatigue thing. They had Guatemala match there. You had, basically, there's been a couple of times there where this team has actually had that issue going on. So this is something that you have to look at take what you got here. But you need a second one just to basically start to rest a little bit easier. For all intents and purposes, we're 8 minutes. We're in the 8th minute right now. This is still effectively 0-0.
In a way, it is. And to your point, you said they faded because of physical fatigue, but sometimes the fatigue is actually mental too. Like a problem that exists, especially with a team as young as the United States is right now, is just the mental alertness, right? So you saw that with who was it that they were leading 2-0 and then they gave up one goal?
That was Guatemala the other day.
That was Guatemala, right?
Yeah. It's where my wife threw an F-bomb at the TV.
You're not gonna have a perfect game, obviously, but at the same time, like that goal only comes because of the mental alertness eroding a little bit,
Yeah, and Guatemala threw everything they had to the front. They had to, and they got the one goal, but it doesn't make a difference here. But yeah, in this case here, 1-0 basically is equivalent to 0 to nothing at the moment. You got to get 2. You got to get that second one to give yourself a little bit of breathing room, and then start thinking a little differently, not defensively, but take the nerves out of it.
Right.
Right now, 9 minutes in at this point, U.S. is already up 1-0 on a Chris Richards header that came from Special Berhalter on a free kick, and yeah, basically exactly the start that they need at the moment.
Yeah, Chris Richards seems up for it. Not just with that goal, but the way he's intervening and just the tenacity that he's competing for just attempts and probes into his space. I really enjoy how he's responding to it. He hasn't some guys when they score they kind of fall into a little bit of a daze, and yeah, if anything he seems a little bit sharper now.
I had asked, remember it was a few weeks ago that who was it? Mija had a great goal. And it was an absolute beautiful setup. And I had asked him about that and the idea that you can't hold on to it. And what do you have to do to not rest on the laurels of the glory that you had of scoring?
Right. If I'm being honest, Scott, I don't know if that ball was completely across the line, man.
Boy, that was close, man.
I don't think it was, man. I think it was like just a smidge still hovering over the goal line.
That,
Is there even VAR in this tournament?
I thought there was.
I don't think I've seen it even once put into practice. But it didn't really look like it. It looked like yes, it was touching only green, and not white. But it was so close to the white that the curvature of the ball had to have still been over the white. Does that make sense?
I think it actually went in. Give me a second here.
I mean, I'll take 1-0. Don't get me wrong, but like, it's a little.
Let's see here. If you look at it here, I'm going to switch over to just a quick second. I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to bring it all the way down to 25% speed.
I mean, this is not the greatest angle, right? Because what we would need to see is from sideways on.
But see, right there. See that right there? That's probably the best angle.
I feel like there was a sideways angle that they showed in the broadcast at some point.
Yeah, that looks like it's still on the paint.
It looks. That's what I'm saying. Like from this angle, what we can see for sure is that it only hits green. It does not hit white. But it's so close to the white that logic insists that the curvature of the ball is still over the white, and by that ruling, by that logic, it probably was not a goal. It did not fully cross the line.
But what's funny about it is that Mexico didn't lose their absolute minds on that.
Right.
I mean, you would have thought that there'd be a bigger outcry. They just rolled with it.
Yeah, and that's true. Like, yeah. If they didn't react, so that's
a lot of times how you can tell. But
can you just because someone's screaming doesn't mean their argument is valid.
That's fair. Yeah, actually, yeah.
especially in football. Especially in football.
Yeah, Concacaf Gold Cup does use VAR. I just confirmed that.
Okay.
Actually, Concacaf in general, but.
What a ball!
Yeah, 13 minutes in right now. Like I said, 1-0 at the moment.
That's a foul on Berhalter. Oh no foul.
Yeah.
Oh.
Berhalter undoing the whatever guilt he may have had from that penalty. The penalties kick that he had. First save, by the way, from Matt Freese, straight on point, barely had to move.
I don't think there's going to be much of that.
What, straight on
Mexico?
Point?
Too many shots on goal for Matty to have to save.
They're not, like I said, they're not a strong offensive powerhouse. They're a strong defensive team that just kind of wears it out and then, wins 1-0, 2-0, But like I said, this is exactly what the U.S. team 100% needed, because you needed to get through that wall. Got to say it again. But Matty with the first save on there. You got to wonder how much more time he's going to have with NYCFC.
Oh, yeah, that's true, right? There were two realities. I was talking to Trey Fillmore of the Outfield the other day about this, and there are two realities when it comes to Matty and his journey here, and it's he has an amazing Gold Cup, and by next summer he's off to a mid-table English Premier League club, right? Or he has an all right tournament. They lose, whatever, and it just ups his stock. It makes him a little bit more valuable, and it kind of increases his profile and the respect that he would deserve within this league. I want the best for him, obviously. So.
Yeah, but in this case, we're looking at Matt Freese here. I think unless he does something outlandish that blows this game, I think a lot of teams in Europe are going to be looking very, very closely at him.
Yeah.
So the question would be is how much would NYCFC sell him for? Because remember, you got 17 million for or 16. Was it 16 million for Santi Rodriguez?
17. Yeah, 17.
Okay.
For
that's right. Cucho was 16. So.
Yeah, they could. I mean, I could see them getting. I mean, Ajamang was sold to Derby for about, I believe it was 10 million. I could see them getting, I'd say, 12 to 15 for Matty.
Could probably get that. Right now, the team has him through 2026 and a club option for 2027 and 2028. So they could hold him all the way through 2028 if they wanted to. That would take him all the way to age 30.
Oh, the U.S. is they're actually doing a decent job of getting around the press. It's still pretty chippy. There's some contact in there, but they don't seem overwhelmed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Expect this to get a lot chippier probably as it goes on.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So.
That's a foul.
Out of bounds, 17 minutes in at this point. For the most part, there's going to be some. I think officials may actually let a lot of the fouls go a little bit. Just let the guys play.
Right.
7 fouls so far overall, but no yellow cards.
I think I'm 30 seconds behind you again, by the way.
Could be. Yeah, that's fine. The U.S. team hasn't maintained a lot of possession. The possession's been pretty heavy in terms of Mexico right now. But when the U.S. team has had it, it's been pretty dribble heavy. So, at the moment, like I said, 1-0 at this point.
Right. Well, here's the thing. It's gonna be this for a while, right? Mexico, being the defensive team that they are, they're now so much more alert to remaining as defensively compact as possible. They're not going to take many risks
At least
going
not for the
forward.
moment.
At least not for the moment. Which is kind of the opposite of what I guess they should do, because if they're down, they ought to open it up a little bit.
Well, again, right now you're okay for time wise. Also, by the way, I want to show you this. In the first game where they scored 3, the only time they scored 3, 2 goals came in the second half. Against Suriname, both goals came in the second half. In the game against Saudi Arabia, both goals came in the second half. And then the game against Honduras came in the first half. It came in the second half also. So the vast majority of their goals have actually been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 of Mexico's 8 goals have actually been in the second half. So I'm sure they're looking at it from that perspective right there and not losing their head right now.
For sure. And some of the best teams in the world are the ones who can. It's 2 halves, right? It's 290. It's 2 45-minute halves, right? It's 2 games you're kind of playing, and the first game is recon, and the second game is mission execution, right? So, and the goal of the first half is to not lose control of the game, right? In that first bit, and you at least have a halftime to go in, plan, powwow about what you're seeing, what you guys are experiencing, and come out with something that works. And it seems like Mexico just make the most of halftime. Clearly, if close to 90% of their goals
7 out of 8, 87.5, yeah.
Yes.
So that's where their success is, and they're probably understanding that basically they get back to 1 goal, tie this thing up, or go push ahead. They know where their strengths lie. So,
yeah.
And again, we talked about some of the concerns with the U.S. team that way too.
I wanted to ask you, since we're here, right, in the final, could you give me? I wanted to limit it to a certain amount of guys, but just tell me whoever comes to mind. Anyone who has made really, really good cases for themselves going into next year.
You mean besides Matt Freese?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Let's start that list from scratch. Let's go.
Truth be told, I think a lot of these guys did.
And I'll go further. Who have they displaced?
I don't know if they've done Jack McGlynn a lot. I wonder if McGlynn should got more minutes, I think.
Okay. Well, when I say displaced, I'm talking about who on the current presumed 11, like of the starters on the national team, the A team. Whose stock has dropped as a result of someone's stock rising in this tournament? Is my question making sense now?
Yeah, I was almost going to say maybe Berhalter, only because that PK that he had was a blatant miss. And I was going to say, the setup that he had for this one, I think takes away from a lot of that. So right there, I think that was one of the ones that was coming to mind first off.
His stock has risen or dropped?
Dropped a little bit.
Okay.
Luna, obviously, listen, the numbers are the numbers. Ajaman, Tillman, and Luna, the goals that they put up, they're responsible for 8 goals right there. So I think their stock's only gone up at this point. Matt Freese, obviously, we talked about there too. And then depending on what happens here, Richards' goal here, being as close though it may have been, is still something that I think raises the stock value. I think, honestly, the truth be told, I think if the team comes away with a win, I think all their stocks go up. It's just a matter of how much more over others.
And who have they displaced? Who's been played out of the team?
Hang on a sec. Okay.
Musa McKenny.
Sorry, I was actually. They actually were replaying. They were replaying the goal, and I thought maybe a second goal had happened. Sorry, I wasn't watching because I was working on some other stuff.
Musa McKenny, Weah. Who has to now be very, very on point? Otherwise, they're losing their spot to someone in this who played in this tournament.
You're talking the 11, or you're talking the 11. Or you're talking the entire roster.
Who the
roster?
Who's the A
team?
Right, so Matt Turner, right?
Yeah,
I agree with that.
McGlynn maybe.
McGlynn. Oh, so you think McGlynn has played his way in and who's been?
Tolkien's been okay, I think. Chris
I like
Brady,
Tolkien.
he's not getting. Quinn Sullivan. I'm neutral on Sullivan right now because
Me too. Me too.
I think there hasn't been enough there.
I mean, I'm just gonna be that guy. I'll have the hot takes. He seems very average to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing particularly spectacular about his game. He's just an extra set of legs,
Yeah.
For me, when I look at team composition, what does a guy bring? I want him to be at good at least one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
I'm a
particularly
little
good, better
surprised
than the
Brian
other
White
skills.
hasn't gotten more love though.
He's another one. He's kind of vanilla to me. Like, what is he particularly good at?
He scored that 4 spot for Vancouver not too long ago.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't remember where he stands as far as goals on the season. He's from Jersey. Interesting.
Yeah.
Because right now for the season he's at 10 goals for the year, and he capped out at 15 for the Whitecaps the last 2 years. So he's on track to actually set his new personal mark. But he hasn't sniffed. He's sniffed 10 minutes this entire tournament.
Yeah.
And that surprises me at least a little bit. And maybe that's the problem of having so many players that you got to figure out who's going to do what and where.
So I think a bit of that might be for all that Brian White does in front of goal for his club.
Mm-hmm.
I was speaking about this with someone before that, like, a player might be great for their club, right? But within their national team composition, they just become a slightly lesser version of themselves. And
Sure.
That's all right. That doesn't mean that they're just a bad player and should be indicted on that. It's more so that, like, okay, that you just don't fit into this team composition, right? And Brian White, I think, for Vancouver in 2025 is perfect,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if we're talking long term up top for the U.S. national team, clearly something's not connecting in the eyes of the people
and being
who
29
are
years old, he's actually a little older than some of them.
Right. Yeah.
So
I just don't know if he's impressed in that way. Because if he did, he would be starting.
Valid. Now, what's interesting?
Go on.
I was going to say, I'm looking at the plus minus for the entire roster right now.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's in the negative on the entire team.
That's really good.
That's actually, I mean, a couple people are neutral, like Walker Zimmerman or Brian White, like I mentioned. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys there that are plus 8.
Wow.
Then you have the 1, 2, 3, 4 that are plus 7 and a plus 6. So you have, like I said, that squad is so gelled, exactly what they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I wanted to look at,
not over relying on any one particular player or unit of players, but
now just looking at the numbers here, it's worth mentioning that of the 4 goals that the U.S. team has given up in this tournament, 2 came in the first half, 2 came in the second. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7 goals of the 12 they scored came in the first half. So they've been pretty straightforward. They've been black and white all the way down for the most part. And never mind, there is a goal right there for Mexico. Top corner. There was nothing that basically Matt Freese could have done there. And suddenly we have a brand new ball game. That was a laser. 26 minutes in.
Oh!
I'm going to fix this right now.
Golazo, aso.
That might draw a yellow card or something right there. That you get touchdown celebration, you get soccer celebrations. Some of them involve PlayStation 5. But great setup on that.
Oh, Diogo Jota. That's his celebration.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, there was nothing Freese could have done. That was inside the box, just a massive laser right there. And now we got a new match.
Yeah, we do.
I would almost give it based on that. I would almost give advantage Mexico after that one.
So can I point something out really quick,
Please.
right there in that moment? Matt, we were talking about Matt's viability when it comes to making the leap. To make the leap, you have to be complete in your position. You got to be at least averagely adept at all the other things outside of what, And what's the one thing that we know Matt is kind of he struggles with? We saw it in the Atlanta game. We saw it a couple times in this tournament. It's that he's very reluctant to come off his line. Now it's easy for me to armchair quarterback
on that, actually.
Right. It's easy for me to armchair quarterback to look retrospectively and say what he should have, would have, could have done. But if I'm looking at that moment, right? If I'm Matt, I'm rushing out to close that space. Yes, I'm seeing Tim Ream coming over to close off the shot, but I'm still coming out just to close the angle. And his reluctance to step out, to step off of his line and come out and close off that angle, right? It left him very vulnerable to what was a very stoppable shot.
But here's the thing. I mean, you had a lot of players up front. You don't want to crowd them either.
It was. That's a great point. It was just Raul and Tim. That space was vacant.
Yeah, but you have to expect your defenders to do the job they're supposed to do. So him going up could have actually further complicated it.
Maybe, but
remember, it's 11.
It's one of those things where you go, you're a keeper, and you know a very basic skill you develop. Obviously, as a player, it's the most basic thing. It's understanding the pace of the ball and the distance of whoever's away from it, and how fast they're moving toward it. In other words, you can read who's going to beat who to a ball. You can mostly read it, right? And it was very obvious that Raul was going to get to that ball and get contact on it first. And it was likely going to be a one-time finish. So the imperfection of that, like him not being able to take a touch, size it up, he's just going to whack it, to me, make it messy. If I'm Matty, rush out, make it messy, close the angle. If he beats you, okay, so be it. At least you did what you could. But to stay on his line in that moment, it's indicative of just one of those things that if there's a flaw that the European teams might observe and kind of hold against him, it's that for sure. And I also see it a lot in the games now that Romero's starting. Romero is very, very willing to come off his line.
Yeah.
And Thiago loves it.
Well, it's funny because he was, I believe, a midfielder in high school. Matt Freese.
Matt Freese, okay.
Yeah, so I think in high school he was a midfielder. And that's something that he when he was with Philadelphia, he played back because that was their style. And that was one of the things he said. In 2023, he had to learn how to play forward. And that's where I think a lot of those matches that early on, that's when Barraza had the job, came from the fact that Freese had to learn how to move forward. Yeah. So right now it's straight up the middle. The odds are slightly in favor of Mexico right now, 38% to 23 of a win without having to go to PK. So there's a pretty strong odds in favor of Mexico, which does make sense here, especially given the fact that they're so much stronger in the second half, like we talked about. But here we are, actually 32 minutes in at this point, 1-1 at the moment. Mexico with the equalizer about 5 minutes ago, roughly. And the goal, the initial over/under on goals was going to be 1.5. We have already surpassed that in the first half. But surprisingly, not the defensive matchup that I think a lot of people, including myself, expected this to be. The U.S. only gave up 4, Mexico only gave up 2, and both of them have given up 1 so far.
Yeah, I'm discussing I'm currently getting texts about Matt staying on his line there. It's not
You
his
are
fault,
okay.
obviously, but
You are. Is that nice?
Yeah, I was just fielding some text there about that, and yeah, it just like I said, it feels definitely like he's and when I say mobility and coming off his
Mhm.
line, I'm talking about a lot of defense, right? It's not just the defender's job to
Mhm.
deal with things. It is a collaborative job, obviously, between the goalkeeper and the defenders. So it's crosses, and instead of making your defender like Tim just cleared it just now, instead of
Mhm.
making your defender have to clear that, if possible, if it's close enough, you come out, you punch it, you come out, you catch it. If it's a long through ball and it bounces enough, you come out and you beat the attacker to it. You put out a lot of fires, and I just don't know if Maddie um, has that in his bag just yet. The putting out
Mhm.
fires aspect. I think he's one of the best shot stoppers in the league, right? But I think that's maybe one half of the job.
Mhm.
I
By the
think
way,
he's got to.
Mexico's starting to put the pressure on at this point, too.
Oh, for sure,
Mhm.
for sure. And it's actually it's still fine. It's 1-1, right? And it's up for grabs.
Well, after the U.S.'s goal that happened 4 minutes in, they have not had a shot on goal in the last 30 minutes. During that time, however, you had a Mexico team that's had 3 shots on goal and scored 1. So it's been a change ever since Richard's goal at 4 minutes in.
Hmm.
And you have to look at it. If you're the U.S. team, you have to look at this from the perspective of we cannot go down 2-1 at halftime. Keep it 1-1. If we can get, right the ship, get through, make this a 45-minute match.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to
Keep
be
it
what they're
steady.
thinking for the most part right now.
Go into halftime. Reset everything.
Yep.
Raul Jimenez, man, I'm so happy to see him still playing.
Oh, yeah.
Very nostalgic.
The Mexican squad does have a lot of good players on there.
Yeah.
But again, they haven't had a lot of goals here. I mean, Cesar Montes has had 3, but this actually brings him tied to Jimenez's goal, brings him to 3 also. So there's 2 players on that team now with 3 goals.
Hmm.
And then in September,
I,
Mexico playing Japan.
I'm so dubious on that. The decision making. I think it's a very interesting decision for Poch to put Arfson
Mm-hmm.
at left back
You know,
because go on.
I was going to say, have they had a hydration break yet?
Have they had a hydration break yet? No, I don't
Yeah.
believe so.
35 minutes in, I would have figured there'd be one by now.
Maybe.
Yeah, 36th minute, about to 37 at this point. Mexico really starting to put the pressure on at this point. So, yeah, if you're U.S., get to halftime, keep it tied. Recharge the batteries, refresh a little bit. As
It
we mentioned
feels
before. Yeah.
it feels like Mexico has shifted to sort of a back 3 with a 5-man attacking front.
Yeah, because, again, they smell blood.
Mm-hmm.
They see this. They see, in a lot of ways, the youth of the U.S. roster here, and they realize that they can get a second goal and be up 2-1 at halftime. They can really, really put the screws to the U.S. team.
But the
opportunity for the U.S. coming into the box right now for the first opportunity in a while. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to make anything happen. Have to go back to midway through, back to midfield again. There was a 2-on-2 opportunity there for about a minute ago. So, but U.S. trying to get some control going.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Tillman.
Yep. When you look at a roster like this, a lot of them, like I said, are going to get back together tomorrow or next year for the Gold Cup too, or for World Cup.
World Cup, yes.
So you have to see how that team would do here. It's one thing to basically talk about like North Central America. It's a totally different ball game when you're dealing with the best of the world.
It is, man.
I mean, U.S. team has done very well on Concacaf the last few years, usually an off and on win, but that's a different ball game, and you don't want to embarrass yourself.
I can't imagine De La Torre displacing the McKennies or the Brendan Aronsons. I can't imagine Berhalter making it in over any of those guys either.
Yeah, and obviously we don't know who's going to come in the next 12 months that might usurp some of these guys too.
A lot can happen in a year. A lot
100%,
can happen in a year.
I mean, this is a tall order, but I mean, could you imagine if Cavan and Quinn Sullivan were on that roster?
Dog. I would rather have
I don't see it happening, but boy, talk about the stories write themselves.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm sure Cavan's probably watching his brother right now. Actually, all the entire Sullivan clan, I'm sure right now.
Berhalter just exhibited a little bit of frustration there.
Mm-hmm.
He feels like there's not enough movement probably from the front line. Not enough making themselves available or challenging that Mexican back line.
You got to wonder if his father Greg's in the audience again.
Yeah, I think he wants more motion, based on that pass from Sebastian to Patrick. He seems to want Patrick to kind of really push that Mexican line high for some runs in behind. But the thing about Patrick is that's kind of not his game. He's not a channel running striker. He's a target man, right? He's a traditional number 9 in every sense. He's a guy who comes short, shows for the ball, and kind of a target man is basically a number 6.
Another opportunity for Mexico right here. Shot and a great save by Matt Freese. It's going to be a corner, I believe, first corner of the match here. But that might have actually gone in. That was going to be close. But Mexico with a great shot on goal right here. Yeah, that probably would have gone in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, first corner of the match, I believe, at this point, goes to Mexico. They've had now 4 unanswered shots in the last 35 minutes, which, again, is a very massive concern right now for the U.S. team. Again, yada, yada, get it to halftime, tied at 1. Oh, but never mind. This is their third corner. How the hell did I miss that? Dumbass. Oh, and I think we have another one. So, yep. Corner out again. 41. We're in the 41st minute at this point. Yeah, if Mexico can get this goal, their chances of winning this thing explode. But when I talked about the fan base too, being a very heavy Mexican fan base, being able to drive to Houston. Corner up and temporarily at least out, but Mexico does maintain control for the moment. Inside 18, and I think it's out for a goal kick. I'm not sure. Was that? Nope, that's another corner. My God, that's another corner kick for Mexico right here. That is their 5th of the game right now and 3rd in about 3.5 minutes. But Freese still running the back pretty well right there. We're up and outside the box, but Mexico still maintains control. Just inside the box at this point. And boots it into outer space, and it will finally be a goal kick. The U.S. team can finally get a chance to get this ball out here. Let me ask you this. Are you concerned about the U.S. team right now?
The impact of a shot of a goal like that could be really detrimental, but still 1-1. And if it was gonna unravel and get out of hand, it would have done so already. There's only 3 minutes left, at least on my end. in
there's a
the
lot of
half.
stoppage time.
And if they can go into halftime at 1-1, the break would prove to be a nice little palate cleanse for them.
Oh yeah.
So they can come back out and kind of reset the tempo, kind of get control of the momentum a little bit again.
Yeah, like a fighter at the end of the round.
Go to your corner, motivational speech.
43 minutes. And a turnover by the U.S. Mexico. And okay, they got it back though. But the Mexican team with five unanswered shots on goal. And we have a foul and possibly our first yellow card. We do have a yellow card, yes, on Mexico. Not sure on who yet, but we get the first one here. Cesar Montes. Okay, that could be interesting. Montes coming into this match with three. The only player from Mexico with 3 goals at this point, and he gets the first yellow card on of this match on a trip. The U.S. with an opportunity here late in the first half. Bit of a delay going here. For things to happen here. We might get about 4 or 5 minutes of stoppage time at this point.
Sebastian Berhalter
Yep.
standing over spot kicks is it's not something I thought I'd be seeing, but
it worked 4 minutes in.
It did.
Here we go. Yep. And it's out like nothing happened.
the Berhalters are like genital warts. Every time you think you got one off, another one grows back.
Now that is a quote we can use. Sebastian Berhalter, the genital warts of Major League Soccer. Inside the box. Not calling a foul on that. The U.S. team is trying to work its way in. And
oh, wow.
Possible opportunity there. But no, U.S. has a shot, and it is up and over. The best opportunity that they have had. Diego Luna with a shot that goes up and over the top. Had an opportunity, but he couldn't get it right down the. He couldn't get it where he needed to. Only 2 minutes. Only 2 minutes of added time here.
On the penalty spot.
Yep.
On the penalty spot. My goodness, Diego.
Angel Montan taking the shot off his head too. A little bit of a bump together between him and was it with Ajimon? I'm not sure, but only 2 minutes of added time, so we might actually go into halftime tied at 1. And throw in by the U.S. Last chance, I think, for the half. And booted straight back down, out of bounds towards Matt Freese.
I think this is safely out.
Into
the half.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be 1-1 here. Yeah, Montan getting an elbow to the head there, too. No foul on that. The officials are really kind of just letting the teams play right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's officially halftime now. So, 1-1 end of the first half. What thoughts do you have, sir?
Um, you know, great way to start the game. Awful way to concede. But the bright side is they were able to kind of pull the team out of its tailspin,
Mhm.
regain control, get some lift under the wings, right? Level back out, and they go into halftime 1-1, which is what you want, right? As a after a half like that. Um, so uh, I don't know. Yeah, I have no complaints. It's a good game so far. I figured it would be chippy. It probably is going to get even trippier into the second half. But I'm interested to see what adjustments each team comes out with,
Mhm.
because Mexico seemed, after that goal that they scored to tie it up, like you said, they smelled blood,
Mhm.
and they clearly committed numbers forward. They had five on the front line, two in the midfield, and three at the back. And for me, what that says is it's a team that says we trust our back five's ability to possess and progress the ball up the pitch, even though on paper there's only two midfielders compared to the US's
Mhm.
uh, three, right? Even though they're outnumbered, and that is a little bit concerning that the team is conceding the midfield to Mexico.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, Mexico with 65% of the possession, almost twice the number of passes,
Yep.
right?
And 2.5 times the shots too. Shots on goal are 5-2 and 7-3 overall.
Right. And
And
if you
again, as
notice,
go ahead. Sorry.
no, go.
I was going to say, and again, worth mentioning, Mexico is a second half team.
Exactly. We haven't even seen, halftime adjustment Mexico yet.
Yes.
Um, Look at those fouls, even on fouls, but one yellow card from Mexico, which, like I said, it's Mexico was going to come out and make this game chippy. They were going to make this
Mhm.
game messy, and I hope I hope that the boys were prepared for that. But and it seemed that there were stretches of the game where they seemed like they were able to handle the pressure all right, but they have to be willing, when you have a team like Mexico who's trying to make it messy and chippy that way, you gotta kind of sort of let them, right? It's like rope a
Mhm.
doping, right? You can't try to go blow for blow for them. You can't stand in the pocket and try to trade blows with them, because if you're not careful, you get knocked out by an errant punch.
Mhm.
But what you ought to do is absorb that pressure, right? Invite it. The pressure is going to come,
Mhm.
and at some point it's gonna tire them out. They're gonna overstretch themselves. They can't press like that for the entire game. So maybe the second half is actually a different tale. I know, like you said, seven of Mexico's, what is it? Mexico's 9 goals in the Gold Cup have come in the second half.
Yeah.
That's scary stuff.
Yeah. See.
Um, but they, I'd like to know what their pressing metrics were, and if they've decided. I'm wondering if they've decided particularly to single out the U.S. as a team that they want to press,
Mhm.
because I think that affects their offensive effectivity in the second half or late in the
Yeah.
game. You know.
And also worth mentioning here is the average age of the U.S. team is 25 and a half. The average age
Hmm.
of the Mexican team is 27. So
Mm.
there's a little bit of a difference there where if the U.S. team falls behind,
Hmm.
something that I don't think has actually happened at all during this tournament, how did their mental suddenly become? They have never trailed this entire tournament.
Proper
Friendlies not
test.
included, but yeah. So if
And
Mexico gets that lead, what does that do mentally for the U.S. team?
and I'll tell you what. Also, I did feel like, I mean, I was hoping that the game would end 1-1 and go to penalties.
Mhm.
So, maybe we just get another half of some chippy fouls, some close calls, maybe some goals called back, some controversial moments, and then the game finishes out 1-1, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if the guys fall victim to the same thing that every other team that Mexico's faced in this tournament so far, if they fall victim to the same thing that they've fallen victim to, the second half might not end so great.
Yeah,
to be honest.
This, like I said, this is, I think, exactly what Mexico wanted, for this match. Again, 7 of the 9 goals overall. That's overall, by the way. Going into this match, 7 of their 8 goals had come in the second half. So this, and again, the U.S. team has never fallen behind. So there's an interesting setup here where if the Mexican team can just play the game that they know how to play, yeah, I have to say odds are Mexico. I gotta give odds to Mexico right now, especially with the way you saw everything after 4 minutes in.
So I'm finishing up some work on a new Five Borough Footy video.
Okay.
About Alonso Martinez. Did some really, really in-depth research with Alec, looking at footage. And we came up with some really interesting results. When it drops, I'll let you know. But if anybody who's watching live right now, just keep an eye out for that. It's if you're a New York City FC fan, obviously.
Yeah. You can find them down below, right there, fiveborofooty.com.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Twitter, Instagram, same thing.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, this is a little different than the match we had about a week ago with Costa Rica. Actually, a week ago, literally, with Costa Rica.
I have a question for you.
Please.
How deep is this team, really? The United States, national team? How deep is it, really?
Not to my mind, very.
What are the deepest spots on the roster?
Let me take a look for a second. Yeah, see, right now. See, most of the playing time of the players have been midfield and forward. The defenders themselves have been, by and large, I would benefit from maybe a little more on the defensive side, to be honest. Because Arfson's gotten, of the non-starters here, Arfson's had 4 matches, Tolkien had 1, Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmerman. But of all of the guys on defense right now, only 1 sub has gotten more than 111 minutes this tournament. Miles Robinson's gotten 7 minutes. Walker Zimmerman's gotten 6. Mark McKenzie's gotten 17. And those in like two matches, 1-1. So these guys don't have a ton of playing time. So you're kind of going really with, your run of Ream, Richards, Freeman, Arfston, and Tolkien. That's pretty much all you got there. And 4 of those guys are already in. So the question remains is, like, what are you going to do? And again, because of the heat that's here, the last matches they had, St. Louis, okay, a little warm, but Minnesota was just straight balmy in July in the summer.
Right.
So you have to look at the heat part of it. That's why I thought maybe the water break wouldn't have surprised me. But that is something else worth mentioning. You're dealing with a team from Mexico, where this is just something day at the office. This is the kind of weather they're used to in like April and May. So
just
when you
another
have
Sunday.
factor.
Yeah. Just another Sunday for them.
Yeah, basically.
And when you have that fatigue factor, when you have them, and it's to your point, actually, the fact that they've come out and decided to keep the intensity and the pace so high in this heat says a lot about their comfort in this weather.
And I know they're throwing everything out there. They know that there's no next game to play for. Starting tomorrow, they fly back to wherever they're going, and they're all enemies again. But they're going to leave everything that they've got right here.
Yeah.
Which sometimes some of the teams themselves are not particularly great, happy about, because if you get injured here, it hurts the rest of the season of the team you normally play for.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look at some of these guys here, and I don't know. I see so much advantage Mexico that if the U.S. team, they got to strike first again. That's the biggest thing. That's the only key I can say.
Who would you like to see come in? Who would change this a little bit? Who would be able to counteract what Mexico's trying to do?
Like I said, right now you don't have a lot to work with. I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but do you bring an extra person up front?
Do you go two strikers? Is that what you say?
Possibly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's an option. There's also the option of putting Berhalter. Well, it said on SofaScore that it's a 4-2-3-1, but from what I can tell, it's actually more of a 5-3-2. And the midfield three being De La Torre, Adams, and Berhalter. The front two being Luna and Ajimang. And obviously the wing backs being Arfson and Freeman. And then you have Bream, Richards, and who am I forgetting?
Who do you have right here? Hang on a second. Freeman, Richards, Ream, and Arfson in the back. Adams, De La Torre in the middle, and then you got four in the front, basically 4-2-3-1. But I see 4-2-3-1 here too. But
right, but the shape they seem to be taking, at least in defense, was a 5-3-2. And the midfield three I saw was Berhalter, De La Torre, and Adams. And the front two was Ajimang and Luna. And I'm trying to make sense of what that back five was. Sorry. Oh, never mind. My mistake. 17. The front two was Tillman and Ajimang. My mistake.
Okay.
So what they had was Luna kind of doing what Hannes does for New York City. Right? He's a left wing back, but he mostly stays high. Does that make sense?
Yep. Hannes Wolf with his team leading 9th goal the other night.
Right. Yeah. And and the team just kind of tucks into this back five with Arfston, Ream, and Richards in the middle of that, and Freeman and Luna on the outside of it. Midfield three of Adams, De La Torre, and Berhalter, and a front two of Tillman and Ajimang. And most teams press in some form of a two-striker formation, but that shape feels like it's accounting for something that Mexico isn't even really leaning on, which is attacking. You go into the back five if it's a team that likes to attack the wide spaces and get really wide on you. And though they have a front five, they haven't really been trying to progress the ball through those spaces. It seems as if Mexico kind of prefers to go right up the gut once they get into the attacking third, or take those types of risks and let the counter press do the work for them, right? But sitting in that back five, I think, is inviting a type of pressure that risks breaking at some point. And Maddie we saw it with that goal with Raul Jimenez, right? The team just wasn't ready for that pass through to Raul, and Maddie obviously wasn't able to respond to it the way we would have typically liked them to. So,
but second half's about to get underway at this point.
There it is.
Thoughts and feelings in the second half. Tell me how you feel right now.
I feel like I want Maddie to have a good game, but I also don't want him to leave. I'm split down the middle. I don't know, man. I'm just excited to see what they're coming out with in the second half.
again, like I said, you got to come out strong.
Let's see what their pacing looks like, right? What Mexico's pacing looks like. If they come out careful defensively, then something else is afoot. But if they come out with that same intense press, then we know that they're trying to chase a little an early second goal, in that second half.
Yep. I think the next
And
goal is
hoping
going to be pretty much the deciding factor, a pretty heavy component of the deciding factor.
Yeah, for sure.
But the U.S. team, to its credit, has done really well in the second half and has only given up 2 goals in the second half.
This has the makings of a 1-1 finish then.
It very well could. Absolutely could.
Yeah.
So there we go. Put that back up. Back onto the pitch. Do you think a team like this can compete next year? A U.S. team like this?
I have my
thoughts, but go ahead.
Then you should go first then.
Mid-level. Maybe slightly above mid-level.
I mean, that's what you could say about any American team in the last 30 years, right?
Pretty much.
So I think this team can more than compete if once this B team and the A team gets consolidated into some new form of an A team. If we get the same buy-in that we're seeing in this current B team, if we get the same buy-in across the board, if some of the guys who weren't present for this cup can come in and kind of by osmosis absorb a little bit of that buy-in, ride this momentum from this Gold Cup, obviously depending on how it turns out, but it was still a good tournament regardless of if they win or lose this game right now. If they can actually ride that momentum and kind of get some buy-in, then we have a team that could probably make the quarters.
Team is I don't believe has ever gotten past the quarterfinals ever.
Right.
So you would look at it from that standpoint. You have to assume that home turf is going to help a little bit in that regard too.
Right. And that to me is a measuring stick that I secretly use. I don't, for me, I don't care if it makes sense. For most others, for me, it makes sense. If I would, if I'm the coach of a team, I want to make the team do something that it's never done before.
Sure.
That's excellence to me, right? You look at Zidane and what exactly. You look at you go you're the coach of Madrid and you win the league or you win the Champions League or whatever. You're not doing anything that they haven't already done, right? But Zidane comes in, they win it 3 times back to back. Twice, I believe. Right? You got Pep with what he managed to do with City in the treble, right? You got to push the knee. Huh?
I was going to say, basically, the next it goes inside the box now with the first opportunity of the second half.
Remember, I'm a little late on you.
No, it's okay. But yeah, it's been kind of in the middle, and out of nowhere, the Mexican team is starting to maintain control. They're about 30 feet out right now. Pass inside the box, but maintain control by the Mexican team now, just outside 18. I pushed ahead a little bit too, so I'm at 47-38 now.
Okay.
So
47-20.
Okay, you're not bad. You're not bad. Yeah, most of the play right now is dead smack in the middle of the field. And a header opportunity and an easy grab by Matt Freese. It wasn't going to go in anyway, but his first action in the second half now.
But yeah, I want this team to push the needle. That's for me where I go, where I give a guy flowers, right? There's a couple people in this U.S. soccer community who feel like Greg deserves more flowers for what he managed to accomplish with the national team. And for me, obviously you give a man respect for doing something good or great or positive
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, but he didn't do anything that we didn't already expect from this team,
Sure.
So for me, unfortunately, what Poch is facing is you have home field advantage, right? You're coming off of what was a very, very good competitive situation in the Gold Cup,
Mm-hmm.
and success is pushing the needle. Success
Yeah.
is getting past the
As
quarterfinals.
simple as it is, yeah. Now, if the team loses to Mexico here, was this a successful year in your mind?
For Poch,
Yeah, and for the team.
for the team, yeah, man, they managed to get here amidst all the drama of the players, choosing to, avoid showing up for the games.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, it man, yeah, I think it speaks volumes because not to project any kind of ill intent on these guys, but you know, I'm sure to some degree you kind of hope, like, if you're a player and you want to demonstrate your importance to the team, you're hoping that in your absence, maybe they struggle a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you want them to do bad, but you want for your presence to be missed, to be
Mm-hmm.
felt. And the fact that the guys are still performing pretty decently in what is a a real competitive situation. It's the Gold Cup, right? Against
Mexico
some
with a
decent
shot.
teams.
Mexico with a shot that went just wide.
Oof.
Sorry. No,
No,
go
you're
ahead.
good. Yeah, you're good. You're good. Um. Oh man, Malik
Mm-hmm.
Tillman. I'm about to see the shot that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Ooh. 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 Yeah. So for me, in a lot of very unique ways, it is a successful year.
Mm-hmm.
It just is.
You feel that?
Um, but I also do feel like the best way to put up is to prove it is to put up or shut up, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
to win the tournament, make this, you know, get back to par for the course. Winning the Gold Cup for the U.S. at one point in history was par for the course. It was what
Mm-hmm.
you expected from them, and whether they struggled or not. Um, and so I want to see them win it just so that if we could comfortably say, okay, we've righted the ship, we've gotten the team kind of operating at the level that we're used to it operating at.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, at the moment, Mexico is mainly maintaining most of the control at this point.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, man. My goodness.
Possession is now 66-34, by the way, in favor of Team Mexico. So even when they basically take a shot and miss and go wide, they're getting that ball back pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Overall shots are now 9-3 in favor of Mexico.
I think the sub I make here is Tolkien,
Mm-hmm.
Aronson, and McGlynn.
Yeah, I was thinking Tolkien right out the gate there.
You get Tolkien because he offers you a little bit more energy in the press in those wide spaces. And you bring in Aronson obviously for the same reasons, but just more
Mm-hmm.
in the central spaces. And you bring in McGlynn because he brings in a lot of creativity on that right side,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what's missing a little bit, like just that spark, the thing that kind of tilts things in the US's favor. Oh wow.
US just outside the box and a shot that goes up and wide, but the first chance for this in the second half right here. Arfman goes a little bit high and wide. Good shot, but just a little off. But a little bit of life for the U.S. team after that shot. Good ball control, too.
Yeah, true. That was not bad, man.
Yeah, that's exactly what the team needed to get something going here. Now, the biggest thing is you've got to be able to maintain that.
Mm-hmm.
That's their first shot, and that's the first shot almost 10 minutes into this half.
And you know what? Even if you don't bring in Jack McGlynn, you could put Arfson on that right side and put Tolkien in the spot, right?
Sure.
De La Torre
they're
off for
they're
Aronson.
showcasing a little bit of feistiness between the two teams.
Oh, for
Tillman's
sure.
getting his jersey pulled and a little shoved back in the process. Yeah, Ruiz pulls his shirt.
Teams definitely look at they look at Tillman as someone they feel like they can bully. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's like his vibe or what it is, but the teams tend to bully him a lot.
Which is funny because he also has 3 goals on the tournament too.
Right.
So it's not like you're taking advantage of somebody who doesn't have the skills.
Exactly.
He's tied in the U.S. side for most goals in this tournament.
Right.
Freese takes the ball, boots it to midfield. Statistically speaking, by the way, Matt Freese has never been very good at kicks to the midfield. I think his success rate on passes over 30 yards is like 20%, 80% fail.
Okay.
It's a really bad number.
Another thing that teams in Europe are sure to be watching, right?
Sure, very much so. Now, I haven't looked too deeply into this season, but last season he was actually, of this game overall, last year, that was one of the things that was at the very bottom.
A lot of what passing from deep spaces feels like to me, it feels like quarterbacking.
Oh yeah, very much so.
But quarterbacking in the sense of like timing the release to meet the completion of the route being run, right? So you can't just send it into an area and hope for the best. It has to be at an angle, like not to get too much into the weeds here, but like comeback routes on the outside. You wait until that stop and turn happens, and then you send it down along the outside where only the receiver can reach it and get it. And it's kind of the same thing when you're sending it into areas where you wait for that move to create space happens, and then you send it to the area where they seem to be darting to. And I don't know if he's mastered that art of quarterbacking with his foot just yet.
In this case here, Matt Freese did go to work and had to block a laser of a pass there. So he is definitely getting his time right now in the second half. He didn't have much early on, but now he's going to go to work. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right, though. It's see, like that right there, that's an example of actually the type of stuff he needed to start doing more. That right there, he didn't risk letting it pass by him, right? That was 100% across. He didn't risk letting it pass by him. He just came out and disrupted it and collected it. And that's the type of stuff I mean by quote unquote being aggressive and coming off your line.
Proactivity.
Being proactive in deciding what happens to this, what is essentially 50-50 ball, a 50-50 ball, right? A ball that can be won by anybody. Okay, why not me? I can use my hands. Let me come get it.
Right now, we are currently 58 minutes into this match right now.
So,
Tillman took a hit and knocked, but
I just got a text saying it looks as if Poch has shifted to a back 3 and is pushed the wing backs higher up the pitch. I don't see that just yet, but I'm now going to keep an eye out for that.
Did that come from Trey?
No, Alec.
Okay.
The back 3 being, which it makes sense, right? It's you have Freeman, he looks like he's 6'1", for a fullback. That's crazy tall. And him, Richards, and Ream absolutely make a decent back three. Let's see, what are we looking at here? 4-4-2, right? It's a 4-4-2 in defense.
And Spider-Man.
Huh?
And Spider-Man.
And Spider-Man. I'm having a hard time. What's that one? And Spider-Man.
Yeah, I was gonna say on screen, Spider-Man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm like, remember, I'm 30 seconds late, man.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, Spider-Man upside down because they decided to flip the camera.
Hey, give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Sure. All right, so you're stuck with just me for the moment. So, like I said, for the most part, match has gone kind of as I thought it would. I would definitely give odds right now to Mexico. This is a team that, as I mentioned, going into this match, 7 of their 8 goals that they have scored in this tournament came in the second half. So being 1-1 is exactly where they would want to be right now. 2-1 even better, sure. But if you're Mexico, this is the kind of situation you want to be in. And this is a Mexican team that has put a lot of pressure on the U.S. since the start of the second half. They've played the game they want to play. They played the patient game that they want to play. The U.S. team is a team that is, on average, about 2 years younger than the Mexican team is right now. At the moment, the odds are mostly in favor of this being 50-50 going to PKs, with Mexico having a 35% chance of winning this in regulation, and the U.S. team at just 15%. At one point in this match, it was a full 69% in favor of U.S. Now it's down to 15%. And that comes down to the fact that there's a lot of question about whether the U.S. team can make this work. They still have not had a shot on goal in this half. They need to get something going. I think if they start playing this game for a draw and PK, I think they're going to guarantee themselves a loss. You can't do that right now. We're 60 minutes in. I'm going to switch this over. I'm going to say it's midway through. I apologize. I didn't realize that Halen was back. So I'm going to fix that right there. There we go. So.
I was just listening to you, man.
Like I said, for me, I'm sitting there. I'm changing certain things, like the lower third. I'm following the game. So I didn't see you down there in general. I was just kind of rambling anyway. How long were you back there?
Again?
How long were you back there?
Like 3 days.
That's what I thought. Sorry about that. Next time I'll try to make it 2. So.
I survived on old cans of beans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so it looks like they fully committed to defending in a 4-4-2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that is it's 61st minute. I have this personal belief. I mean, I'm very OCD about it. I'm super on. I might be on the spectrum about this one. Sorry to say it like that, but I might. But I'm very particular about.
No.
Yeah, but I'm very particular about this belief. Subs, whether you need them or not, should be made between the 55th and 75th minutes.
Typically, yeah.
I don't know why. Even if the guy feels fresh, even if you're winning by 4, even if I don't know. So like when I see things like the 52nd minute and subs are not made, and it's the kind of heat that they're playing in, and it's the kind of tempo of game that they're playing in, it's definitely. There was another game that was kind of like that where Poch didn't make subs until like the 81st minute or something like that,
mm-hmm.
and it concerns me, man. Some of the coaches who try to hold on to their hand to protect their hands as long as they can.
By the way, first yellow card for the U.S. on Tyler Adams.
I love Tyler shrugging.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? What do you mean?
That's one of the things that's always funny about this sport. It's like, what are you talking about? I didn't do anything.
What are you talking about?
You literally took off your shoe and basically tried to like stab him with your cleat. What are you talking about?
What are you saying? What? That's
exactly.
Football.
Exactly.
So what? I put my foot through his chest cavity.
Exactly.
What do
So
you
what if I
mean?
roundhouse kicked him in the head? It's a foul at most.
It's a warning, ref. Surely that's a
Exactly.
warning.
Hell. Ball's back down in the U.S. zone at the moment. Out of play. I think it's going to be set up. Is that going to be a goal kick or corner? Goal kick for the U.S. or corner for Mexico? And it looks like we're going to set ourselves for what I believe is now the 6th corner kick for Team Mexico in this match. I'm sorry, 8th. Shot up and over the top. Never mind. It is now a goal kick back out, I believe. So U.S. dodges another small little tiny bullet. 65 minutes in, and nope, never mind. That was actually a corner. I am struggling. I got to bring in a producer on a regular for something like this, man. I swear to God.
No, you're fine. This is us, man. This is us.
Yeah.
This is us. You know, if you come here for the show, if you come to watch us, you ought to know by now that this is us. And if you don't like it,
you ought to know.
You ought to know.
Boy, they're just bullying Berhalter right now. Holy crap!
I'm gonna go ahead and use my privilege as a young person and a person of a particular demographic to talk about my. Don't get involved. Don't get involved. But I do want to talk about how split I am as far as like, you know, I want my team to win. I want the U.S. to win.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so hard to really root for the U.S. with everything going on, right? And I did want to put words to that and kind of just say that out loud. Like it's especially considering the teams that are playing each other right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really I find myself very much split on that, and I know like ultimately it has nothing. One has very little to do with the very little to do with the other, right? The politics of the nations have very little to do with the sport, right? And the soccer team, but yeah, I just find it very. It adds for some reason with me. It adds an extra weight. It just does.
Yeah, I mean, right now with relations there and everything going on in the U.S., and that's where, weirdly enough, sport is so important. And I say sport in general because it's a chance to get away from at least some of it.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude.
You know,
for sure. And, yeah.
You know, like I said, as a general rule, I try to avoid politics as a personal, aspect of things, but I'm aware of what's going on out there.
Yeah.
But for me, typically, it's shot up and over and. Near opportunity for Mexico yet again, by the way.
Yeah, but typically, yeah, and that's like I said, it's you'd be silly. Let me be very clear. You'd be silly to associate the politics of a country with its football, right? You'd be very silly. But whether we want to or not, those narratives are still there. We want to acknowledge it or not, those narratives are always still there. I could name a number of other, matchups that have different things about it, undertones about it. So yeah, I find myself really, I'm rooting for my team, but man, it takes me out of it. It's kind of like an Inception, how they say if the dreamer realizes that they're dreaming, it turns on you. The subconscious turns on you. It's the same thing. Like I want to suspend my belief and get lost in the game. It's hard to when I see USA Mexico and 1-1, and I want Maddie to do well, but I also feel bad. Like I don't know.
You're betraying your goalkeeper. No, I mean I get it. Real talk. By the way, Mexico is maintaining that pressure shot and up and over its goal kick for the U.S. You look at the way, and I think social media does have an impact on a lot of this. The way the divisions have existed in this country and the way things are going. I've always, as a general rule, tried to, like I said, steer from that. If we create a politics channel on this side of it, stream punk politics, that's fine. It's a different ballgame. But it's very difficult, I think, nowadays to separate one from the other. By the way, we have our first Downs is coming in. By the way, our first substitution.
And like you said, the sport is intended as a distraction. That's kind of the whole point of it, right? It's sports are the sports are to gladiators what chickens are to T-Rexes, right? And but they are, right. It's a very watered down version of it. And what were the gladiator games? Distractions, right? Distractions from what was going on outside. um but ironically, a lot of what played out as far as like the narratives in those gladiator competitions were simply mirroring real conflicts that were going on outside. So it's meant to be an escape, but a lot of times the art imitates the life.
And that's the
And
way
yeah.
the way the pedantic humans have been for thousands of years.
Mhm.
And the fact that you're mentioning gladiator games being something done back then as it is now shows that humanity has not really improved much in 2,000 years. Technology has.
Right.
Humanity has.
I mean, now they're refs, right? They're refs, and no one's dying. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a little less warlike than it used to be in this case here, and
yeah.
yeah, go to the front lines, basically. Those who are prepared to die serve you, Lord Caesar or whatever. But I don't know. We just interview celebrities over here, and occasionally do live streams and shit like that stuff. Woo! But
Hey man, you knew you knew who I was, brother. You knew.
humans are humans, man. So I don't sweat it too much. But I get it. But,
Nonetheless, though,
yes.
I do want Maddie to do well. I do want the team to do well, and this is a welcome. If anything, actually, the type of distraction that it is making me. It feels like I'm watching it from back in 2008 again, right? Where the rivalry was just a soccer rivalry, So I like the feelings, some of the feelings that it's giving me as well.
Mexico with a header that goes wide. I was shot on that, but that is the 11th corner of this match for Mexico.
This game is ending 1-1.
You know what? It wouldn't surprise me. But corners are right now 11-0.
This game is ending 1-1. It's not going beyond that. The U.S. is too packed in defensively, and I just feel like that Raul Jimenez goal woke them up. So they're kind of alert to those types of dangers now. And Mexico got here, right? But this is the first time we've seen Mexico actually performing well in a long time. Fair to say?
Yeah, listen. Again, they're playing
They've
the
had
game
a rough
they're used to
couple
playing.
years.
Again, they gave up a goal here, but this is only the third goal they have allowed this entire tournament in 6 games. And it breaks their 4-game clean sheet streak.
Damn, that's so true. Oh wow.
Now, in my head, I don't know what it is, but if this goes to PKs, I'm not sure if the U.S. is going to win it.
And what? Well, why?
I don't know. Just a weird instinct.
I actually feel like we have the edge. Matt Freese is a PK specialist, and I actually have a lot of faith in that.
So, Mexico maintaining control right now.
What I don't have a lot of faith in is if the U.S. goes down 1.
Oh yeah, that changes everything here.
If they have the resolve to come back,
like I said, they have never trailed in this tournament, so you have to ask if they fall behind, what that's going to do.
Right.
Well, we're in the 74th minute right now. Game tied at 1. So far, I don't think a lot of stoppage time. Maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
Montez.
U.S. trying to get control here. They have possession at midfield. Down to the left side.
Oh, wow. How do you feel about Damian Downs?
Too early to say.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is he's only 21. You can't. I mean, he's getting minutes on this one, which I think is good for his growth. But at 21 years old, I think it's too early to say. Actually, ironically, today is literally his birthday too. Happy birthday!
Way.
Happy birthday, kid! You can drink if you win.
Yeah, right. Go have yourself a margarita.
That's a question I'd have to ask him, man. It's like, you won the Gold Cup on your 21st birthday, and you can legally drink. Did you have anything at all?
I mean, clearly you got to have tequila gold label.
Fair.
Orbelin something. All right. 75th minute.
Yeah,
76. Okay.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, right now we're officially in 76. So, Mexico takes it out from the goalkeeper, Monton. Midway across, just outside the box. Mexico with a small chance right here, just outside the box. Trying to set up a little bit, and the U.S. boots it back out. Yeah, you're right. They're playing really, really tight on this. Not the approach I would have felt comfortable with, because it often lead time leads to too much failure. But so far, it's been okay. Mexico with a chance and shot back off, back out to midfield a little bit.
See, I really don't like this approach, because while in theory it seems like you're playing conservatively and defensively, it's just conceding more possession and more chances to Mexico, and it's at some point the defensive wall is going to bend too much until it breaks.
Yeah, somebody's going to make a mistake. Some
sort of error is going to happen, and it's an inevitability. And you don't want that error to happen that close to goal,
Yeah. Mexico with another free kick just outside of 18. Here we go. And wait. Is that in or is it offside? And it looks like it's an offside. Oh, it looks like Mexico is offside on that goal.
Let me see. Let's see right now. Oh, yeah, he was off. Because it was a flicked on ball, right?
Mexico trying to go for VAR on that. Doesn't look like they are going to go VAR.
Right, but it was here. Oh, I don't know, Scott.
I'm not sure.
I don't know, Scott.
Oh, they are going to go to VAR. They have announced it. They are going to VAR on this one.
Scott, I think it's a goal, man.
Could be. And it is. Yeah. Yes, it is officially counted as a goal. Mexico has taken the lead, is confirmed on this. Oh, boy.
My days.
And now what we talked about before. Can this U.S. team find what they need to win this? Or at least get back to a draw?
Right.
Also, can I point out how fast VAR was on this side? For MLS, it takes like 12 minutes.
Right.
But here it's like Yeah, we already checked. That's good.
Well, they have the best of the best working on it, right?
They do, and that's no argument there. But so yeah, the U.S. team is now officially behind on that. Great diving header, by the way.
Yeah, but a really good flick on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually 2 headers really. So it is officially ruled a goal. Edison Alvarez at 77.
The flick and on. Yeah, it seems valid, man. He's got to make a sub. It's the 79th minute.
Yeah,
you need
firepower.
You
got to
need
go for
legs.
full offense. You got to throw everybody you can up to the front.
You need legs. You need energy.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it.
He's only had the one sub, one player so far, I believe, correct?
Who was it? De La Torre and
Downs for De La Torre. Yeah, that's the only substitution for them, and Mexico has only had one player sub so far also. So now we're about 81 minutes in. U.S. is trying to get back into this any way that they can. But we beat a dead horse with the Mexican team when they have the lead.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Matt Freese come up front and join the fray. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Not at this point. I would say probably about 86, 87 minutes in, but I can see it happening.
At some point. I know what you meant.
U.S. trying to keep the ball in there. Doing a decent job of holding it in play. Still outside the box, but they're doing a decent job of it. Burning clock, but can't get in deep. Just circling the ball around in the midfield. And the ball's turned over to Mexico. So Mexico is just sitting there waiting for an opportunity just to get that ball. And the opportunity showed up, and now we have a foul. Whose possession is it? The U.S.? I think it is. 82 minutes in.
Oh, man. Luna, that pass.
Yep.
And Adams was sitting on that yellow, I believe.
Yep. Jack McGlynn is in for Adams, yeah.
Yeah, he's on.
That's a good point. May as well. Like I said, throw the kitchen sink here if you need to.
No, but there needs to be another sub.
Yeah, there will be. Well, I mean, you have one sub left and 3 players.
I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know if I would have brought on Damian Downs.
It was an interesting choice because, again, he didn't have a lot of field experience. I would have given him maybe a little more experience earlier on.
Right. He's a friendlies guy. He's not a Gold Cup guy.
Yeah.
He's not a guy you bring in for a tournament like this.
Also, have you noticed that whenever Fox goes to the stands, it's all Mexican fans?
Yep.
Shot just wide. Mexico is still maintaining pressure, even despite the lead and 83 minutes in.
Oh.
Yeah, who's down right now?
He's got to make a sub, man.
Looks like Mexico's about to make a sub. Huerta and Jimenez.
I just can't wrap my mind around why he's sticking by this
original
original 11. McGlynn, yeah, cool. But
Yeah,
Downs, no field experience.
you're stuck.
You
Well,
have
listen, you're stuck with it
Tolkien on
now.
the.
You live by the sword,
Yes.
you die by the sword.
Oh, dude! I just looked at that shot again.
Yeah, it went off the pipe. Went off the crossbar.
No, dog. It went off of Tim Ream's shin.
Okay.
You see his calf vibrate from the impact. Oh my days. It might have just clipped it, obviously. But oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, see, this is the problem the U.S. team has. They don't have a lot of experience in their subs right here for this tournament. So, and Mexico bringing 2 more guys in at this point.
Wow, what a play by number 4 there.
Mm-hmm. So, U.S. is currently trailing 85 minutes in by a score of 2-1 at this point. U.S., by the way, has not had a shot on goal this half. I believe Jimenez is getting a yellow card, possibly for delay a game. Yellow cards are basically garbage at this point. Okay. Okay, yeah. Jimenez for Jimenez.
Okay, there's some subs coming on. I think it looks like Tolkien and I think it's Brendan. It might be Aronson coming on. Yeah.
Oh, so, okay, yeah.
Tolkien and Aronson. Those are the exact 2 subs. It's a little late, man. It's a little late, but okay.
May as well, like I said, but
A little damn late though, Scott.
was that Brendan Aronson or Paxton Aronson?
Brendan.
Okay.
The better Aronson.
Yeah, I was gonna say because but yeah, 86 minutes in, probably about 3 or 4 minutes of added time. This would be the time if you're gonna have Matt Freese come in. This is where the time you bring him up front too. Use that midfield
Luna?
I talked about.
Luna out? You don't do that.
Maybe he's getting gassed. Maybe the heat is getting to him. It's 87 minutes in.
Oh, dude.
You know, I mean,
dude. Yeah, this
game is. U.S. with an opportunity inside the box, but couldn't get it done. Another back out and turn the ball over, but maintain possession. Nope, and lose the ball again. So.
Yeah, this game's over.
It's pretty good chances on that one, yeah.
Congrats to Mexico, though.
Well, we're not done. We're not done yet. So.
Okay. I hear you.
So.
I would love to stand corrected. I will say that.
Yeah, right now, statistically speaking, the U.S. has a 1% chance of winning. Mexico's at 86% and a 13% chance of going to penalties.
1% chance of winning.
Uno. Yep. Yeah, Mexico outshooting the U.S. 6-2 on goal and 14-4 overall. Yeah, you got to look at this U.S. team, and I don't know. I don't see anything other than disappointment for this team. For this, I think with the team the way it is right now in this tournament, it was success or failure. It was win or failure.
Yeah, it was win. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even coming runner up in that group.
Yeah.
Usually something that is worth respecting, but yeah.
Yeah. U.S. fans are extremely quiet when the counter actually goes to them. 88 minutes in, 89 minutes in.
And ultimately, this blame And I do want to play the blame game. I put it on those players that declined coming into camp.
Yeah.
This was important. This is the last competitive tournament, last competitive set of games that the U.S. was going to be able to play in as a real test for the World Cup next year. And they declined. And that, to me, inexcusable.
Well, that's something else to open up as well. You know, country patriotism. You know, U.S. versus Mexico versus, you know, a lot of the European countries or Asian countries. You know, the idea of patriotism and nationality, I think internally inside a lot of those countries is a lot stronger than it is here.
Yeah.
You know,
which is very strange for me for me to acknowledge that because you're right. And the only reason why that is because it wasn't the case back in the day. Dempsey,
no.
Donovan.
When I was a kid growing up, dude, I mean, America. I mean, but not jokingly, but seriously, you know.
No, US there was a lot of pride. There was a lot of pride. And now, but I don't. Yeah, and now there just seems to be. I don't think it has really much to do with the politics of it. I mean, maybe it has some sort of role to play. I'm sure it does, maybe on some level. But I think it's more that these kids, they value their individual club careers more than they value anything that they do on the international level.
Jackpot. And that's 7 minutes, by the way, of added time. 7. But yeah, I think that's a lot of it there too. You know, it's that mental aspect of it.
Weston McKennie cares more about how he looks for Juventus than how he looks for the national team. Pulisic cares more about how he looks for Milan than how he looks for the U.S. and so on and so forth down the line.
Yeah,
and that rot has spread to so many of the other European-based American players. That entitlement, like we give Gio Reyna, excuse my language, we give Gio Reyna a lot of shit for being an entitled little brat, but that rot extends way further than him.
Yeah,
extends way further than him.
As George Carlin would have said, you know, it comes from American schools, American system, American politics, and like U.S. with an opportunity on goal here. Can they get something in opportunity? And it is cleared outside the box for now. And Mexico clears it back to midfield. That was the best opportunity that the U.S. has had pretty much this entire half. And nothing to show for it. But yeah, there's a reason I usually prefer to talk to people from like typically like Europe or in this case Japan next month. Ooh, ikuzo. So ikuzo. But I probably will not do the live show from Japan because I don't know, my camera. I may not bring the camera. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Might have to.
I mean, it'll also be the timing would be crazy.
Yeah. Well, it'll be 12 hours apart, so it would be like a very early morning show. Matt Freese with an easy pickup right here, 93rd minute, starting that. U.S. is there. Matt is starting to come forward, I think, a little bit. U.S. back across midfield right now. About 4-ish minutes remaining if they can do it. But U.S. finally with a shot on goal for the first time this entire half.
Seven minutes.
Yep.
Of extra time.
Jack McGlynn playing at the stadium he's familiar with since being traded here. U.S. with a quick throw in at this point. Tolkien trying to clear, unable to do so. U.S. maintains control just inside the Mexico side of the pitch.
Oh, wow. Oh, the ref is letting a lot slide.
Yeah, I don't hate that personally because
Me neither.
you don't want to dictate the game.
Yeah.
And if Ted Uncle was here, he'd probably say the same thing.
Shout out to Ted.
Yeah, I got to reach out to him too. I've been thinking about that lately. Pick up Ted. I was going to say I might pick up another, maybe Chicago Fire broadcaster or something. I've been just running through my head a little bit lately.
Oh man, Sebastian. Sebastian.
Ball's out of play, 94th minute, about 95 at this point. Mexico is still maintaining a lot of pressure. They are not letting up here. But yeah, Sebastian with the trip. But yeah, U.S. finally with an opportunity on goal about 5 minutes back. Ball's out of play. Is that Mexico's ball or is that nope. Mexico with a throw in, I believe, right deep inside the U.S. zone right now. Taking his time inside. He draws the yellow card for delay a game. He's probably fine with it. Mexico maintaining the ball in the U.S. zone despite the fact they have the lead. Shot and a decent save by Matt Freese. Takes the ball pretty much out to midfield. U.S.
Wow.
Running out of opportunities here.
Sebastian is too gassed to stay on this pitch right now.
Yeah. U.S. out of players to substitute to. Mexico still actually has one.
Oh my days.
But yeah, the Mexican team going into this, I had a feeling that they were going to be the stronger team because defense beats offense, and they had just one of the greatest defenses I think has been seen in a while in Concacaf. This being only the third goal that they have allowed this entire tournament. The goal to Chris Richards 4 minutes in.
Can I just say,
please?
The scoreline feels appropriate.
This could be a lot worse than 2-1, though.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Mexico has another corner kick right now. U.S. just trying to get out of their own zone. And this, wow, they might actually give up a goal here. Nope. Slide fall. But Mexico has the ball in the U.S.'s 18. Despite the lead and everything, they are just playing just as aggressively as they always did.
Mm-hmm.
And it works. It's working. Mm-hmm. Covering NYCFC, we never really saw a lot of that when the team had the lead.
Right. Wow. Wow.
We're now in the 98th minute. And that is it. The Mexican team has the win. 2-1. They are your 2025 CONCACAF Gold Cup champions with a huge 2-1 win on borderline home turf in Mexico and in Houston, with the Mexican fans easily able to make the trip there for that one. U.S. had a good lead. They got the Chris Richards goal just 4 minutes in on that, but only mustered 2 shots on goal the other remaining 86 minutes at a time. So, your thoughts, sir?
If I speak, I'm in trouble.
Okay. U.S. could have won this game.
The U.S. could have. I'm 100% in Poch's camp simply because of the virtue of him being Mauricio Pochettino, right? I think it's a little bit too early to judge him negatively. And I think it would be fair to give him flowers for what positives he's managed to extract from this group, especially considering getting to the final. Um, I don't think that that's anything short of actually quite impressive, especially with your B or C team. Um, that said, I do have some criticisms that I hope he improves by this time next year, which is um, player selection, like picking the right guys to start, and well-timed substitutions, like in-game adjustments. I know he's good at in-game adjustments tactically. He seems very good at making those types of switches, but personnel is where I think he's. I wouldn't give him the best grade on that. The subs seem a little bit late. The subs almost seem a little bit confusing, such as Damien Downs, a kid who doesn't have much field time in big cup tournaments like this. That being your first sub is, it's a little bit odd for me.
Yeah.
So, I'm still proud of the guys. I'm still proud of the job that Matt has done. And yeah, I just hope that Poch improves in those two departments by this time next year, because, come the World Cup, I don't want to see Damien Downs taking the pitch against Poland, or
he'll have another year under his belt, so I think this is a good learning experience for him there too.
It's not enough. He'd have to, between now and next summer, he would have to perform so exceptionally well at club level to warrant him even getting a third string. For me, a third string pull. Not because he's bad. This isn't an indictment that he's a good or bad player. This is just in the grand scheme of that pool of players in his position. He's just not very far from my first selection.
Do you feel that this is going to help the team next year, having lost tonight?
I think it's not so much the loss. The loss is going to unify these guys, the ones that were here tonight playing in this game. But I think this tournament, their performance in the tournament, is what's going to help them next year. Because, I'm hoping that Poch, like I said, is keeping receipts of guys' performances in this tournament. And I hope that he's keeping receipts of guys who they rejected coming to this tournament and were already playing poorly for the team. I hope that there's some sort of repercussion. I was speaking about this the other day in a press box with Matt Mangum. The real problem in this club is there are no. It's kind of like the problem with promotion relegation, right? There's no penalty for doing poorly. So if you're a player playing badly, like if you're Josh Sargent and you haven't scored since 2019, for some reason you still get called up, right? And then there's no reward for playing well in leagues that for whatever reason don't get priority. If you're a player doing well in the MLS, there's been a recent kind of push for that, but I just feel like players in Europe get preference in that regard. And I understand when it comes to those top 5 leagues, like the English Premier League, Serie A, La Liga, even Liga and Bundesliga. But like, for me, if you have a player in the MLS who scored 10 goals and a player in the Eredivisie who scored 10 goals, I'm bringing the MLS player. You see it all the time. All of the best national teams that do well, they just take the best 2 or 3 teams in their local league and kind of reinforce it with talent from outside the league, right? And that's the national team, right? And I just feel like a lot of these guys who are playing abroad, like I mentioned earlier, they prioritize. Their priorities are with their club. Their priorities are with their standing with their club and their performance with their club. You even heard it in Christian's reasoning for why he's sitting out of the tournament. He wanted to be fresh for AC Milan. Doug, what? What?
And I'm proud to be an American. And I'm proud to be an American. Different world, man. Listen, you're getting old.
If you have to go play in the Gold Cup and then show up on 3 weeks of rest to Serie A preseason, that's just what you do then.
Mm-hmm.
You're lucky to be making millions playing a game.
Yeah.
A child game. And I just don't feel like these guys prioritize it properly. So to just answer your question, I do think their performance in the tournament is going to unify them. I could feel that they all kind of really are a team. The way that they play with each other and play off of each other. There's a lot of the combinations, a lot of these like relationships you see between Diego Luna and Malik Tillman. I'm talking about literally gameplay here. There's a lot of trust in between these guys. The Adjamangs, the Berhalters, right? The De La Torres. They seem pretty reliant on each other and they trust each other. And I want that to translate with the senior guys. Because it doesn't look the same on the senior level.
Mm-hmm.
So come this time next year, between now and next year, guys have approximately 12 months, a full year, to make a case for for me the A team, that slate is clean now.
Mm-hmm.
That slate is completely clean, because if the team can still perform this well without their A squad guys, then hard questions need to be asked.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
That slate is clean now, and guys have a chance now between this year and next year. And the guys in this tournament, they have a head start, by the way, on everybody else in the pool, because they showed up and they played. So between right now and next summer, a lot of the guys in the pool have an opportunity to prove that they should be a part of that roster. I'm thinking of guys like, if we're talking about go position by position, the number 9 position, I'm thinking of guys like Balogun, Pepe, Adjamang, who else? Jordan Morris, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Sargent. None of these guys, to me, have really just taken the position and ran with it. None of them deserve that deference, right? And so they all have earned the opportunity to make a case for themselves between now and next year. And
Sure.
The only guys who've made great cases for themselves are the guys, like I said, in this tournament. Diego Luna, right? Malik Tillman. I feel like Brendan Aronson made a great case, even though he was already kind of part of that senior squad. Tyler Adams. John Tolkien had a great showing for himself. Adjamang had a great showing because he's done what we've seen no number 9 in the pool do yet in years, which is, okay, you're having struggles in front of the goal, but at least you're connecting play. You're dropping into midfield, playing with your back to goal. You're contributing in some way. A lot of these guys struggle with that. Just basic football.
Sure.
So, I'm sounding really critical, I'm really angry right now, but that's the state we're in right now. That running up, being a runner-up in the Gold Cup is a failure.
That's what I think. The way this team has had success over the last 5 years, give or take, in Concacaf, and again, being on home turf and, all of these kind of things, a lot of mitigating factors. This team had the opportunity to come away with a victory. Is this the worst thing? Not necessarily, because like I said, if it lights a fire under the team for World Cup next year, including some of the players you said that decided to skip, sometimes a loss can be a motivating factor, and you don't want to be embarrassed twice on your home turf.
You don't. And no one's saying you got to win the World Cup, right? You don't. That's not the leap you're making.
No, but don't bail out like a wuss.
But don't go out. Don't go out sad. Don't go out underachieving. There's some drama here right now with the medal ceremony. Um, yeah, just it's pushed the needle, like I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, right? It's you got to push the needle. You got to do something that we've never seen this team do before. And frankly, we were on the cusp of seeing that tonight.
Yes.
We've never seen the team, the U.S. national team, win the Gold Cup with anything less than an A team.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So the fact that they made the run that they did is actually quite impressive. With the team that they had, is actually quite impressive. I commend them for their performance. But now this is an indictment on not just the team, actually far less on the guys that showed up and played today, believe it or not. They're at least at fault. I'm mostly leveling this criticism against the senior players, the ones who had the opportunity to show up and help and chose not to show up. This is on them. This is on them. And I just hope, like I mentioned to, I should have landed that point, but I think the problem is these guys can make, the reason why these guys can make this type of decision of, oh, I'm just going to pass. I want to be fresh for AC Milan. I want to be fresh for Juventus. I want to be fresh for this, fresh for that. They can do that because they genuinely feel that there will be no repercussions for that.
Fair.
They will not be penalized. In any other national team on the planet, if you miss an opportunity to show up and maintain your reputation and within your national team, you're leaving space for another guy to slide in and take your spot. And the fact that that doesn't concern them in the slightest, that they know in their heart of hearts that because they play for these European clubs, even if it's just a mid-table club in a very basic European league, they know that simply being a player in Europe, they believe, because they've seen it, it's been demonstrated to them, that they'll always get deference from the USSF. They'll always get picked. They'll always get starts. There will never be a penalty. There'll never be someone nipping at their heels. And that competitive nature, that's so necessary for success in any team, but especially in a national team where it's about show up and win now, right? That competitive nature that's necessary to breed the success necessary in that environment, it's just not there. It's not there at the U.S. national team level. They're not worried. Christian Pulisic should be more worried. He's good. He's good, but there are guys making us wonder. Diego Luna is making me wonder. You know, I've always felt like Gio Reyna's been a better player, but he's just got a bad mentality. Like Christian Pulisic is not in a position to be taking his position for granted.
But
he's not
playing for the U.S. team, in a matter of speaking, in a lot of ways, for a lot of them, I think is playing down a level.
It is,
and that's where it's like I'm not going to schlub my resume to play for that team.
You're right. Not that it is. I shouldn't say that it is. That's how they see it.
Yeah.
That's how they see it. To me, this isn't about, I'm proud of my country and I'm proud of wear the red, white, and blue and stars and stripes. No, it's about, if you're an athlete, you should want to go down in history doing some shit that pushed the needle, doing something that made a difference, that stands out from the rest of the crowd. And if I'm an American player, for me, I'm gonna want to. I'm sorry for cursing. I'm gonna want to. If I'm an American player, I'm gonna want to do that. I'm gonna want to be compared to the Clint Dempseys and the Landon Donovans, right? I'm gonna want them
older
to say,
than pretty much every player on this team.
Yes, I am.
Different mentality, sir.
I am, but even Clint at age 27 still showed up. Landon at age 29 still showed up, right? And I just think that the priority isn't there, man.
Yeah.
You're right. They think of it as playing a level down, and that is absolutely embarrassing.
Yeah.
That is absolutely embarrassing because playing, trying to, set a new, push the bar, right? Regardless of what the environment is. If it's I'm playing for a championship club that's never been promoted to the Prem. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I do.
My goal should then to help contribute to it making that type of history, right? Um, and within this context of the U.S. national team, they should want to push that needle and not just match what others have done in the past. And now it's even worse. Now they're willing to just kind of let the destiny of it. They just let go of the wheel, let it just swerve and go over wherever it'll go. And I don't know. It's extremely hurtful to see because these are guys that are living the dream. There's a lot of people out there who would give their left chestnut to be in their position, you know,
Yeah.
and they seem to be taking it incredibly for granted.
U.S. team, by the way, coming across right now, getting their silver medals. Some of them are accepting it, some of them are not.
The audacity to not accept it, man. The audacity to not accept it.
Listen. Just there's an old saying. It says people are going to do what they're going to do. You focus on being the best you can be, and fuck them all. Be the best. Be the best that you can be. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, most of them are accepting. A couple of them aren't. And, I mean, I can understand why you wouldn't want to in some cases. It hurts too much. But Matt Freese is coming up to the platform, so I'll see what he does. He's probably going to accept it. I think I'd be very surprised if he doesn't.
He's an honorable guy.
So, yep, Freese has it around his neck.
Miles Robinson, like how Miles didn't get more minutes in this tournament.
So, U.S. guys are just about done all the way through.
Oh wow, he got a little bit. Matt Freese got a little bit of extra attention from. Yeah, he definitely. He 100% left a really good impression. He stood out.
I mean, listen, he did pretty much everything he could in this tournament. Yeah,
he did.
So
the clubs are watching.
Yeah, 100%. And now I believe Mexico is going up. They're trying to wave somebody through right now. I'm not sure who yet. Oh, here comes the roster. Malagon's pretty much leading the front. Yep, it's got the gold. Pretty sure all of these are going to get accepted.
I'm sorry for ranting, but I've been that's been rolling around in my mind for a long time, man. And if
like
it's not,
the only thing I can say to this, as someone who's had an interesting run of his life, is you can't let what other people do dictate what you do. Like I said, your life. There's an old saying that says life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you deal with it. I understand how you feel about this stuff, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but your job is to go out and be the best you. Let the world take care of itself as it has for thousands of years. You talked earlier about gladiator tournaments and things like that. As I mentioned, humanity doesn't improve. Technology does, but humanity does not. That's why quotes from Charlemagne and Marcus Aurelius and Plato and Confucius still apply today. They shouldn't. I wish they wouldn't, but they do. But for me, like I said, it's about trying to create a cheers environment for everybody. Where everybody knows your name. So, soccer here. My lacrosse guys are going at it right now. I'm not even sure what those guys are up to at the moment. I'm sure they got something badass happening. Probably some player going on. They're probably interviewing some player or some GM right now. What they usually do on Sunday nights.
Guillermo Ochoa, legend.
Alvarez coming up. He gets his gold. Camera's panning over to the winner's trophy. We're going to have that happen in a second. I figure after that we'll call it.
Yeah, this might be. I think this is the last time Memo is competing, right? He might be retiring after this.
Yep. Here we go. Getting in position. Camera's on a wide shot. Oh, yeah, don't go on a wide shot for that. And 1, 2, 3, and up they go. I have to say, I love that moment. When that trophy goes up, whatever the trophy is, doesn't matter. That unified moment together that they're getting right now, dude.
Memo.
I have never experienced anything close to that in my entire life. I have no idea what it feels like.
I love seeing Memo Ochoa there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Good for them. Good for Mexico, man. Honestly.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah. Like I said, they can go. They can drive home proud. Not like when you come up from when you're Pumas and you come up from League's tournament, you get your League's Cup, you get knocked out in the first round.
Right.
Actually, League's Cup.
Yeah, dude. There's a lot to be figured out with this team, and there needs to be a hard reset. Control Alt Delete on everything cultural, and yeah, it needs to be a hard reset because that dysfunction is gonna. I think it just will yield horrible results in next year's World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
It just will.
They got a year to figure it out, and I think all things considered, they had a good run here. They just faced a better team.
They did.
I'm not really hating. It's a win or it's a win or failure season, but it's a tournament. But in spite of that, they did do well. And they did play the way they needed to play. They just played against a better team.
Yeah.
Plain and simple, better team won. So, does it suck? Yeah. Do they go back to life, the universe, and everything starting tomorrow? Yeah, they do. But Matt Freese probably right now, he's letting probably tonight go, and then tomorrow it is right back to basically what he's got to do with Charlotte.
All right.
Him and Ajamon will shake hands, wish each other well, and then beat the crap out of each other on Saturday.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so true.
But all right, sir. Anything else?
I think that's about it. I think I've ranted all that I can rant.
It's okay. Believe me, if I really wanted to, I could out rant you any day of the week. Trust me, I could if I wanted to. But
You're the second 3-hour conversation I've had today, man.
Am I really? Okay.
Yeah.
You're the only 2.5, 3-hour conversation I've had, but I'll tell you right now, my right leg is completely numb. I got to get up at this point.
All right, then. Well, it's been real.
Yes. Looking forward to the future. Thank you for everything. Appreciate it. This one and the Costa Rica match, too. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So until next time, I'm Scott. That's Halen. You've probably seen him from Fiber of Footy and a lot of the interviews that we do. Joe Tollison, Chris Duran, Ted Uncle that we mentioned, too. So we will have more of those in the future. I guarantee that going forward. Like, comment, and subscribe. The whole drill on that because, well, at the end of the day, we work for you. So thanks as always. Take care. You guys are awesome. Until next time, keep staying awesome. Bye.